Okay, so this is part 4 of my percent composition videos. And this time I'm going to find the percent composition of all the elements in dinitrogen disulfide. Right. And step 1 says write your chemical equation. And then look up the masses of each element. So for nitrogen, we've got 14.0067 grams per mole. And for sulfur, we have 32.065 grams per mole. Okay? And then it says multiply masses by quantity of each element. And in this step, you always want to reference your chemical equation. And that shows us that there's 2 nitrogens and 2 sulfurs. So now we have to reassess the mass. So you're going to have 2 multiplying by the mass of nitrogen, and that is going to give you 28.0134 grams per mole. And for sulfur, that's going to give you 64.13 grams per mole. And step 4 says sum all the masses. And you'll end up with 92.1434 grams per mole. Okay. Next, set up a proportion equation. And whenever you think proportion, you think part to whole. So let's write a part to whole ratio. Okay. So in this case, our whole is the entire compound, all the masses within this compound. And we found that when we summed all the masses, and that turned out to be 92.1434 grams per mole. Now the part, that could either be nitrogen or sulfur. And first we'll find the percent composition of nitrogen. And that is 28.0134 grams per mole. And we're looking for a percentage. So 92 represents the whole. 92 represents 100%. And 28 represents, well, we don't know how much 28 represents of that whole. So we're going to write X because that's our unknown. So in solving for X, we'll cross multiply and we'll wind up with 2,801.34 equals 92.1434 X. Division will set X by itself. And we find that X equals 30.4%. And that represents the percentage of nitrogen in dinitrogen disulfide. Okay, so we're going to repeat those same steps for finding the percent composition of sulfur in this compound. So our part to whole ratio is going to turn out to be, the whole didn't change, that's 92.1434 grams per mole. And the part this time is going to be 64.13 grams per mole. Okay. Now, 92.1434 grams per mole represents 100% of the compound. and the 64.13 grams per mole. Well, that represents, we don't know how much that represents. So we're going to set that equal to Y. That's our unknown. And cross multiplication, you end up with 6,413 equals 92.1434 Y. Division will get Y by itself. And after doing so, you'll find that Y equals 69.6%. And that represents the amount of, or the percentage of, sulfur in dinitrogen disulfide. Now, you could have, especially when you have only two elements, you could have just stopped here and subtracted 30.4 from 100%, and you would have ended up getting 69.6. But I wrote it all out so you guys can see exactly what to do or what's happening. And you know, once you get comfortable with everything, you can cut steps out. But here's the long way. So I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.